start, enjoy the show. Give me your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly, because we win. That is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us a stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Ruairidh Barlow. Over the course of the next half an hour or so, we will be talking our way through all of the Tuesday night soccer, highlighting the best bets when it comes to the Nations League and indeed the South American World Cup qualifiers as well. Make sure you tag us in with all your bets at Because We Win, of course, on X. Rory, the theme over the last few shows, at least when I've been on, is international breaks. For or against? Do you enjoy them? Do you like them from a betting point of view? Do you like them from a solely footballing point of view? You live in Spain, so you obviously, off the back of Spain's win in the Nations League with a ticker tape parades, was it something that the Spaniards enjoyed and celebrated? How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, Dan. It can be up and down, because from a personal point of view, I like the kind of slight easing off of fixture congestion in terms of work. From a Scotland point of view, I don't like them as much since Scotland started winning games about a year ago. That's less fun. And from a professional point of view, I think it can be interesting. But with Spain, now that they've won the Euros, I think everything else has taken off a bit of a back burner. Pressure's off. So it's kind of looking ahead towards the World Cup already, I think, with Spain.
One or two comments coming in already. Byron says that no stink eye, I promise. Ian lights out, easy gents. And Duncan says afternoon all. Yes, welcome one and all. Get your best bets in. Let us know what you fancy when it comes to the final round of Nations League games. And for now, World Cup qualifying, of course, in South America. Lots of big bets across Bet Rivers in the States over the last 24 hours. And we heard from our Bet Rivers colleagues yesterday that the weekend was very much one for the bettors rather than the bookies. But as is the way, the bookies took some of the cash back yesterday. We had a near $30,000 play on the Georgia-Albania game, over half a goal in the first half. That was a live play at plus 112, which was a loss. So obviously the bookmakers kept the cash, then also kept the cash on a $23,000 bet on the Jets plus one on the spreads against the Bills for the NFL Monday night game. That was obviously a loss. Did have a little bit of money on the Bills as well on the money line and also on the spreads as well. A near 20,000 play, near 19,000 play. And on the baseball, a 20,000 play on the Dodgers on the money line against the Mets. And that was a loss at minus 137. So certain bookmakers are clawing some of the cash back, it would appear, after a weekend that was very much one for the bettors. Rick says, oh, I've enjoyed this international break. I've won quite a bit. Well, that's always makes it easy, doesn't it? Disky's been on, says, welcome everyone. Banker, Spain, Serbia, over 2.5 goals, 100% with my prediction on this channel. And Byron says, yeah, great job yesterday. Jokeres, anytime goal scorer, Barkler shot on target, Hungary all hit, and Billy Blanco's and the nasty hit as well. Yeah, Will White was in good form for us yesterday. As you can see there, the comments coming in. 5 shot on target / anytime goal scorer bets that cop from Will. So it's a tough act to follow for Rory. But Rory, we will try. We're going to kick off talking about the Nations League, of course. And as per usual, a bit of an eclectic mix. We've got Kosovo, Cyprus, Northern Ireland, Bulgaria. As you can see, first of all, before we get into some League A action, Kosovo here, minus 295. I didn't think I'd ever see Kosovo at such a short price, but they are. Cyprus plus 850, Thai plus 400. There we got Northern Ireland minus 112 here to beat Bulgaria, who are plus 375. We were just talking off air, Rory, weren't we? And the Mallorca striker, Vedat Muric, unfortunately, didn't play the last game for Kosovo. He could be a little bit of a miss for them. Scored in the reverse fixture as they won this 1-4-0. Had a good season a couple of years ago, didn't he, Muric? I seem to recall.
Yeah, Muric is a player I really like. He's a big, strong, physical target man. But I think Kosovo will be okay without him for this one. I mean, that's shown in the odds. I think the bookies will agree with that. But you look at Cyprus as well. Great cheese. The football team is less exciting at the moment, though, it has to be said. And if you look at kind of Kosovo's form, especially this year in terms of the calendar year, they beat them 4-0 in that reverse fixture you mentioned. But also, Kosovo seem to be more or less beating the teams that they're about the same level as, and the teams that they are maybe a little bit worse than they're losing to. But Cyprus, I think they'll feel that they at least have kind of even par in terms of quality on the pitch. And for me, I think they have a little bit more quality on the pitch. So for me, if you're looking at that one, then you are kind of investigating, right, how do I get my value on that Kosovo to win plus something else on a parlay? Over 2.5 goals certainly isn't a bad one at -130 on its own. And if you add Kosovo in to win to that, then you start looking at slightly better odds at about +106 at the minute.
Northern Ireland and Bulgaria, an interesting one for me. I was looking at sort of both teams to score no for Northern Ireland. Their last 4 and 8 of the last 10, and Bulgaria as well. I mean, you just don't get an awful lot of goals when Bulgaria play here. Northern Ireland have got 1 or 2 injury issues. I noticed that a young keeper called Pierce Charles, 19 years old, made his debut against Belarus in the 0-0 draw. They hit the post in that game. He's not played a league fixture for Sheffield Wednesday this season. He's played in the League Cup this campaign. Bulgaria, notoriously low scorers as well here. This is one I'd want to get unders with. But as you can see here, Rory, the line is under 1.5 at +140, over 1.5 -182. Any thought in the Northern Ireland-Bulgaria clash?
Yeah, it's a bit of a brutal one. And again, if you scroll up and down the results for both of these sides, it's 0-0, 1-0, 1-0, 0-0, 0-1. It's all kind of binary code for these two teams. So yeah, unders is the way to go. I think you're even starting to look at kind of where do you look elsewhere. I mean, Northern Ireland themselves at home against Bulgaria to not lose, and then you're looking at parlays as well. I think that's not the worst idea. If you look at the unders plus Northern Ireland to win or tie, that's +200, which given we think this is going to go unders, at least that would be the kind of form guide. That's not a bad look for me either.
Northern Ireland unders in 8 of the last 10, Bulgaria the last 7, as you mentioned. You can have the under 2.5 goals and the both teams to score no parlay. It works out about -121. It's still minus money. The only thing that's against you there is the 1-1 draw, I guess. But yeah, you've got to look unders, I think, for that particular fixture. Much better games, we hope, certainly in terms of quality, when it comes to the next 2 we can take a look at, including Scotland in just a second. But first of all, Poland, Croatia. Now, obviously, you were across the sort of Scotland-Croatia game at the weekend, Rory. They are favourites to beat Poland here at +135. Poland +210. Croatia did win the reverse fixture by 1-0. Were Croatia lucky to beat Scotland at the weekend? Scotland had that goal that was chalked off for offside late on, and Croatia scrambled a 2-1 win. Am I overrating that? Who do you think might prevail in Poland, Croatia? What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I thought Scotland were probably worth a point against Croatia, it has to be said. But then you look at the kind of chances and the way that the game went, and I don't think Scotland could necessarily have huge complaints that Croatia won either. I mean, I don't think either team necessarily did loads to win, draw, or lose that game. It was a very even tie, and I expect something pretty similar in this one. I mean, Poland, you've got Robert Lewandowski complaining that he's not getting enough service in the Poland games. And to be honest, that's been his complaint for about the last 10, 15 years, ever since he came into the Polish side. So, yeah, you've got that to contend with. I think both teams to score. One of our viewers just mentioned there. That's not a bad shout, because I think Poland at home will be egged on again by the crowd to kind of come out. But Croatia probably given a slight edge. But do you give them enough of an edge to really start putting down money for them? I'm not entirely sure, but both teams to score I quite like. And if I was to kind of, my kind of thing is always to look where I can add a little bit to that, and the parlay with Croatia to win or tie. That's one that I quite like there. So yeah, that would be where I would be going. That gets you +128, both teams to score, Croatia not to lose. But yeah, Croatia's slight edge, but they are a funny team, Croatia, because I remember back in the kind of qualifiers last year, they looked like they were kind of set on for second or first place in their group, and then they dropped a game to Wales, and they drew with Wales as well. So they are capable of chucking a game against, or not chucking a game, but losing or throwing up a surprise result against one of my beloved neighbours in Wales.
Just give us a line on Robert Lewandowski here. Has he been re-energized at Barcelona? I mean, his numbers, because they have always been so spectacular, took a dip last term. as Barca did, but he's absolutely flying. 9 in La Liga. Is he back to his best? Is he re-energized at Barcelona under Hansi Flick? Have you seen something different with him?
Yeah, he looks a lot better at Barcelona, but I think the changes that have been made at Barcelona are ones that you're probably not going to see at Poland, and that's the big issue, is because with Barcelona, what Flick said is basically stop coming deep, stop trying to get involved in the play in the number 10 position. You're not Leo Messi, you're not Cristiano Ronaldo. Just leave that to them and then get on the end of these crosses that we're going to provide you with. And with Poland, that's something that he struggles to do. And because you saw that in the Euros as well, quite often he'll be left up there alone or with someone a little bit just off him, and he's asked to be that target man, somebody to bring other people into the game. And that's just not what he does best. If you give him goal scoring opportunities, Lewandowski will score. But if you don't, if you ask him to be kind of a full, complete number 9, that's when you take away from his game, in my view. So I'm always kind of reluctant to bet on Lewandowski to score for Poland. But the fact that he takes penalties and free kicks is always something to take into account as well.
On the money line, 91% of the money, 92% of the tickets on Croatia. We've had some decent bets on the overs and unders as well. 76% of the tickets on the overs. And also a 4-figure play on Poland under 4.5 shots on target at -147. So one better expecting Poland to have something of a shot shy evening. We will see if that transpires. Scotland, Portugal, we have got an official play in this from Rory. Just a reminder of the prices here. Scotland, look, their big price +475, tie +340. Portugal are minus money favourites at -186 here. Now, the reverse fixture, Rory, you can spin it a couple of ways for me. Look, Scotland took the lead and were hanging on. They conceded in the second half, looked like they might get a valiant draw, and then conceded very, very late on. That seems to be the story of sort of Scotland's League A debut for me. Run the rule of Scotland, Portugal for us, and you have got a play in this one for us as well.
Yeah, I'll start with the play. That's Portugal to win and under 3.5 goals at +120. I think with Scotland is they just can't put this together, and they're going through a bit of a transitional phase, I think. If you look at their Euros, they really, really struggled in front of goal. And I think Steve Clarke, what he's trying to do is make Scotland more effective, more dangerous in front of goal. So that comes with a trade-off. And I think they're still kind of looking for that balance. And if you're looking for balance and then you're looking to be a bit more expansive against teams that are a level above you, which in this league, I think Poland maybe not, but Croatia and Portugal have a just claim to that. That's where you get these kind of issues coming. And you look at their last kind of 9-10 games, there's a couple of draws in there against Georgia, Norway, Finland, and Switzerland. So that tells you that they've really been struggling for results. And Portugal beat Poland 3-1 out last time, but that was the first time in 10 games that they've conceded, that they've cleared the over 3.5 goals line. And that's where I kind of look at with this bet. I think this Portugal side, again, you look at the qualifiers last year and they were pretty effective. They were kind of scoring lots of goals. They looked really, really impressive. But since the Euros, they've really come down off that kind of pedestal, and they're struggling to put teams away as well as they were. And I think this will be kind of a bit of a routine win for them, to be honest.
Yeah, +120 as well, Portugal to win under 3.5 goals. I was looking at 1 or 2 Ronaldo stats here. I sort of want to oppose him somehow. He's -103 to score, but he has scored in his last 3 for Portugal. That was after 5 without. And this is the type of game that he probably will score in. He might not last the whole game. His last 15 away games for Portugal, he's only scored in 6 of them. So I sort of want to oppose him, but he's still the type of player that's probably going to pop up and score. Shay Adams to start, do you think, tonight as well? Rory, for those looking at Scotland goal scorers, he came off the bench. He's had a decent start to life at Torino, hasn't he, in Italy?
Yeah, we don't have many options up front, which is part of the reason that I think Steve Clarke's trying to be a bit more expansive. I think one to look at is maybe Ben Doak to perhaps get a start or to come on, maybe a shot on target for him. He's somebody that does really well in space, takes people on, and he's been more and more impressive for Scotland. So maybe look at him with a kind of shot or a shot on target, because, yeah, he's the kind of one player that I think Scotland are really placing hopes on that can become a threat. And I think Steve Clarke will be forced to give him game time because he looked really good against Croatia.
Yeah, he's an exciting winger. There's no doubt about that. Moving on to more UEFA Nations League games, and get your selections in on the comments as well. Wilfred says Romania and over 1.5 team total. We'll get to that game shortly, but some big games involving Switzerland, Denmark, and Spain against Serbia. We have got a play in the Spain-Serbia game for you. Just talk about Switzerland, Denmark first of all here. Rory, Switzerland plus 128, Denmark plus 235, tie plus 220 here. Denmark did win the reverse fixture, and they battled hard against Spain, I thought, the weekend, but they were beaten eventually. The Swiss seem to be on a little bit of a downward trajectory. I mean, for me, I might play sort of Denmark draw no bet at plus 130. Any angle for you, Switzerland, Denmark?
This is a game that I'm staying away from, to be perfectly honest. I think these two teams are so evenly matched that whoever scores first is probably going to either win or perhaps you get a late equaliser. But it's one of those games where both these teams quite like to counter-attack. They like to play with space as opposed to necessarily controlling the game or going after it. Switzerland in particular, they're a really good counter-attacking side. They're basically a good Bundesliga side. That's what Switzerland are and have been for quite some time. And so if they are allowed to operate like that, then they're effective. But I think both these teams will kind of arm's length, and if somebody can nick a goal, then that's where the game will go. But yeah, that's why I'm staying away from it, Dan.
Not staying away from Spain, Serbia, because obviously Rory is in Madrid and knows the Spanish situation inside and out. The interesting thing here about the Serbia game is the reverse fixture here, 0-0. As I'm sure you recall, every single bettor was on Spain to win to 0. We thought Serbia were on a bit of a downward trend, and of course it was 0-0. So it scuppered an awful lot of bets. So with that in mind, your selection sort of buys into making sure that you get that onside, Roy.
Yes, my selection is both teams not to score at minus 132. My less cowardly selection is both teams not to score at minus 132 plus Spain to win, which boosts you up to positive money plus 102. That's sitting at right now. And I think bettors were right to be on Spain last time. They were very unlucky not to win. I think they hit the woodwork 2-3 times. Lamine Yamal was in full flow. The reason that I've kind of maybe eased off the overs in this game or eased off kind of going for the bigger Spain win, maybe with a handicap, is that you look at their absences and it is really fundamentally changing the way that they play. Dani Carvajal, who's kind of the captain and leader of the side, Rodri, who's obviously the tone setter in midfield, Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, all of them are out with injuries. So that's really going to impact the way they play. That said, I do think the Serbia side are poorer. You look at Serbia about, again, a year ago, we were talking about this and we're saying that they're guaranteed goals in these games with Serbia. They're always going to give you goals. But since the Euros, and in particular in the last 2-3 months, Stojkovic's side have really kind of tried to shut things down and play a little bit more conservative. So that's where both teams not to score comes in. And that both teams not to score would have come in 6 of the last 7 for Spain. And I think it's 4 of the last 5 of their clean sheets, or of their home games, have been clean sheets for Spain. So I think they'll keep a clean sheet, tight stadium in Cordoba, and I think they will do enough to get past Serbia here.
Interesting one, isn't it? I've not is this the first competitive game in Cordoba? I think they played there once or twice before, maybe a good few years ago. But I mean, it's a big deal for the city, isn't it? I mean, sometimes you think, well, if they're going around the country and they've been there a few times, it doesn't really matter. But for Cordoba, this is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a thing, but then on the other hand, there's also an aspect to kind of a trophy parade. And I think with the players, particularly the ones that are involved in the Euros, they're going there, they're going to be greeted with a huge fanfare. They'll be kind of showing off the trophy as well. So there's that kind of aspect of it where it maybe takes away a little bit of the competitive edge feeling. I think Serbia likely to reinstall that in the first few minutes. And if you've seen Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams have been kicked pretty hard in the last few games that they've played at international level. So yeah, I think there's 2 sides to it. I think it's an advantage that they're in a smaller stadium, but also that kind of aspect of the pressure being off is not helping them.
Just on Yamal and 1 or 2 others, is Yamal going to play? Is he absent for this one? And Nico Williams as well, 1 or 2 players missing for Spain?
Nico's out. He went home to Bilbao, and Barcelona have also got Lamine Yamal back from their game on Saturday night when Lamine Yamal limped off. Of course, El Clásico is coming up in 2 weekends' time. Barcelona also want him from the Bayern Munich match next week. So yeah, both of those players are out. You do still have a lot of attacking talent, it has to be said. Alex Baena is very, very good form right now. I can't really believe he stayed at Villarreal and nobody paid his 60 million release clause. So he'll be in good form.
Both teams to score, no, is the play. If you want a little bit of juice on it, Spain to win to 0 effectively, round about plus 102. Just to round off the other games in the section here, we've got Lithuania versus Romania. Wilfred says Romania and over 1.5 team total. That's his particular pick in this one. You can see that Romania are short price favourites at minus 175, and Belarus Luxembourg, it's each of two, pick them plus 190. Belarus Luxembourg plus 190 as well here. I don't think we've got any particular plays in these two. I mean, Romania did win the reverse fixture 3-1, but they got a couple of goals in the last 3 minutes. But they are played 3-1-3 in League C. They're probably a little bit better than that. And as for Luxembourg, they did so well previously in the European Championship qualifiers, got through to the playoffs, but unfortunately have regressed a little bit in that one. So difficult games to predict. Just going back to the Spain game, we have had significant money for Spain on the money line and a $500 play on over 5.5 total goals. So that's worth 7 large to someone if it comes in. That is the UEFA Nations League. We're going to be talking about the South American World Cup qualifiers in just a second. Send us your selections or get them in the comments as we speak. Just to round off the baseball that is ongoing tonight, we've got the Cleveland Guardians at the New York Yankees. The Yankees are a game up in the series. Just to rattle through the prices, plus 140 Cleveland, the Yankees minus 165. The run line there, as you can see, is minus 157 plus 128. With minus 1.5 the Yankees, and the Guardians getting that 1.5 start. And the over and under runs minus 117 over and under minus 105. I've actually got a producer friend of mine that's working on the postseason out there for Major League Baseball. He just texted me earlier, says these are his picks. If Shakespeare is with us, let me know what you like and dislike of this lot, Shakespeare. You've got around about 10 minutes or so to let us know. My pal who's out in the States producing for Major League Baseball, he says total runs under 7 minus 110 or thereabouts is a play. Yankees to win minus 167. Yankees pitcher Gerrit Cole over 5.5 strikeouts at plus 102. Aaron Judge of the Yankees to hit a home run plus 285, and Jose Ramirez to hit a home run for Cleveland at plus 390. Shakespeare, let us know. Are they fair picks from my producer friend who's out in the States at the moment? Let's talk soccer once again. World Cup qualifying, of course, for South America, and a big night, of course, for a number of these nations. The vast majority are going to qualify. That's the way that it's set up in CONMEBOL, but we'll see what happens to two of those that are looking for that playoff spot. One or two comments in as well. Celtic says, doubled my bankroll yesterday with the shot on target plays and the Eucharist anytime goal scorer as well. Ian Messina says, Colombia and over 1.5 goals is his play. Well, we can talk about that one first and foremost here. We've got Colombia prices along with one or two others up on screen. Colombia minus 265, Thai plus 350, and Chile big price plus 950. This is second against bottom in the standings, Rory. 0-0 the reverse fixture. Colombia have been excellent in qualifying, not just for this tournament, but previous tournaments. And they were top of the table before they were done at El Alto, which everyone seems to lose at in Bolivia, and they played with a man advantage for quite a bit of time in that one. I mean, they will probably get back on track, I would have thought, here. And he's taking the Colombia-Chile game for us, Rory.
Yeah, I've been up to El Alto, and I can tell you that it's...
Have you really? What's it like? This fan, a bit of insight here.
It's horrible. Like, it is... Like, I was quite young at the time, but I was throwing up quite a lot. We went up very rapidly. And, yeah, the altitude sickness is real, folks. Don't disregard that. But, yes, Colombia, I think, yeah, they have to be strong favourites for this one. Chile, nearly 10 to 1, nearly plus 1,000. That shows you just how bad they've been, and they're really lacking talent at the moment. But having said that, again, Colombia, they aren't necessarily the free scoring side that they were about 5-6 years ago. They do have James Rodriguez still kicking around. They do have a good firepower up front. But yes, I don't expect it to be necessarily a blowout. So yeah, the 1.5 that Ian was mentioning, probably where I would be looking to go with this one. Interesting to see who starts up front for Colombia as well. John Duran was suspended for the Bolivia game, probably going to come back in. John Cordoba, who's a Krasnodar striker, missed a few chances against Bolivia by all accounts.
look, we think Colombia is going to win this one. Ian's been back on talking about the fact that Chile have got internal problems. A couple of players have left the team over the weekend. That's good insight. Thanks, Ian. Carlos Palacios, one of those that have left. Paraguay, Venezuela. Paraguay plus 108. Venezuela plus 330 here. Thai plus 205. Venezuela doing really well. They're in the playoff spot at the moment, in 7th in qualifying. They did win the reverse fixture. Big draw against Argentina last week. I'm not quite sure that we can trust them away from home here, taking on a Paraguay spot. I mean, these are two teams that are probably going to benefit from that extra place that the World Cup that FIFA have given South American. Chances are one of them will probably grab that playoff spot, Rory. But a game for me that I'm going to leave alone. If anything, I'd look towards unders in this one.
Yeah, I steer clear of this as well, because even with the unders, you're looking really hard to get any value on this, and I think you're in for another low-scoring, tough battle of a South American game here, and they're notorious for being tough. They're notorious for being kind of tight and edgy and difficult games, and I think that's what Venezuela will try to turn this into against the Paraguay side. That will probably look at this game and think it's a good opportunity, but yeah, a lot of these kind of South American sides look at these games and think, first of all, I'm not going to lose this game, and I think that is kind of reflected in the odds. I would make Paraguay favourites, and I think they're doing pretty well under Gustavo Alfaro. But yeah, I think value-wise, getting a lot out of this game, apart from maybe backing Paraguay straight at the plus 108, is quite difficult for me.
Yeah, under and over 1.5 goals there, as you saw on screen. We have got an official pick in the Uruguay-Ecuador game, 3rd against 5th in qualifying. It's an interesting one because Uruguay started so well in qualifying. They beat Brazil at home and Argentina away. But then the wheels fell off. They had so many players suspended because of certain shenanigans in the Copa America. But they are getting players back for this one. Darwin Nunez, who I think still should be suspended, but isn't because there's an appeal going round at the moment. The likes of Jose Maria Jimenez and Matias Oliveira and Roland Araujo, all available after 3-match bans. So a good core of the squad is back for Uruguay, and that could be telling. They were worth opposing, I think, in recent games. And they lost away at Peru, which is a shocking result last week. But potentially they might be able to come good against what is a pretty good Ecuador side that probably will qualify for the World Cup as well. You've got to play in this one, Rory. Give us your thoughts on the game and the play as well.
Yeah, I'm going Ecuador under 0.5 goals. So Ecuador not to score, and that's at minus 112. I think it's just eased out to minus 113 now. But yeah, not a lot of goals predicted in this game. Even with Darwin Nunez back, he blows pretty hot and cold. And the fact is that this Uruguay side don't have the service that they used to have. And 1 goal in the last 3 games, obviously without Nunez. But you look at Uruguay, 5 of the last 9 they've had clean sheets at. This play hits in 7 of their last 8. They've lost their kind of zest that they had with Bielsa at the start of his kind of reign, where they looked really infused and looked really kind of empowered by his methods. But outside of Nunez and Valverde, you just look at it and it's just not got the same quality that we're used to with Uruguay in that side. Ronald Araujo is still kind of coming back from that injury, so he won't be present in this game. But again, Ecuador, both teams to score no. That hits in 4 of the last 5. They've scored just twice in 5. If you look at their entire South American qualifiers record, just 10 goals in their 9 games. So yeah, not many goals predicted in this one, and I just don't see Ecuador scoring.
That is the play. We like under half a goal. So effectively a Uruguay clean sheet in that one. Argentina, Bolivia. Bolivia, of course, are going well. They keep winning at El Alto. They were beaten by Argentina in La Paz in the reverse of this fixture 3-0. I think that might have been the game that thought, you know what, we'll go up another 1,000 feet. Let's just make sure that we get a little bit more of an advantage. Disappointing for Argentina last time out against Venezuela. Bolivia, as we know, beat Colombia last time out. But Bolivia away from home, I mean, they just don't win. I was looking back through the stats. I make it, and I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, then I'm not that much wrong. 1 away World Cup qualifying win in the last 25 years, but it did come in their last game against Chile. Argentina, maybe 1 or 2 players back here. I think Romero's free from a ban. Keeper Martinez is still out, but really he's not a bad replacement. Is he here? What do you think, Argentina, Bolivia? I mean, to my mind, this could be an easy 3 or 4-0 scoreline for Argentina. They'll be doing the heavy lifting, Rory, when it comes to the total goals line, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did go over 3.5. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, that's where you're looking at for value again. And I think perhaps with me, I would be looking at that starting a lineup about an hour before and see who's starting up front for them, because I think that's probably where you're going to get value on this game in terms of shots or even to score. I think Julian Alvarez has been out of form for Atleti. That's one thing that's worth noting if you are going to look at that. With Argentina, Leo Messi has been in and out with injuries, so that's their creative spark, obviously. Gio Lo Celso has been in fantastic form for Betis. He's scored 5 in his last 6, so another thing to note there. But yeah, you're looking at how can I get value on Argentina to win plus or goal scorers here. Bolivia, we mentioned just how bad Chile were at the moment, and that played out when they managed to drop points to the Bolivians. So yeah, I think that's where to go. I think relatively straight down the middle there, Dan.
Shakespeare has been on. He says, don't give up on the Cleveland Indians just yet. 2 of the Yankees scored runs yesterday were on wild pitches. Keep the faith. Shakespeare, what's the play tonight? We need to know the play, Shakespeare, before we go off air, which is going to be in the next 3 or 4 minutes' time. One more South American game to look at. It is Brazil against Peru. I mean, there is a bit of a false narrative about Brazil potentially missing out on the World Cup. It's not going to happen. It was never going to happen. Yes, they scrambled the victory last time out against Chile. They were 1 down. It was a late goal. I mean, it's interesting that they've turned to some South American-based players, a couple of Botafogo players. We talked about Igor Jesus on the show last week. Didn't know too much about him. Made a debut, scored. Hasn't got much of a profile, played out in the Middle East. Brazil are minus a couple of significant players. Vinny Jr.'s not there at all, is he? I don't think Rory Bremer's out injured. Going to be Gabriel Marquinhos at the back, but look, they will beat Peru, I think, won't they?
Yeah, probably. I think so, but I don't expect it to be, again, a blowout in this. You've got an out-of-form Brazil side. You've got a manager who's struggling in Dorival Jr., Brazilian football's in a bit of a crisis. I mean, the president was on the radio saying we don't need to bother with Rafinha or Vinicius because the ones here are just as good. I mean, it was Luis Enrique who scored their kind of crucial goal last time out, but yeah, they're just in a bit of a mess, and they'll get through this one against Peru. I think Peru just don't have the tools to necessarily hurt them as they would like, but I expect Peru to keep it relatively tight, and particularly if you get 20, 30 minutes of this game in and Brazil haven't scored or Brazil aren't looking likely, then those unders at plus 112, I know that will come in a bit if you're 20 minutes in, but that's what's looking really inviting to me about this game.
Yeah, that could be an interesting call, couldn't it? Because it might just be one of those workmanlike wins, goal in the sort of 58th and 79th, and Brazil win 2-0 and you just move on. But the unders cashes. Wilfred says Brazil scoring both halves is his particular play. Shakespeare, it's your last chance to get your playing for tonight's MLB game. We're going to wrap it up with Rory's best bet of the session. Incidentally, just on that Brazil-Peru fixture, 99% of the money has come from Brazil, 98% of the tickets on Brazil as well. And in the overs and unders, 87% of the money, 92% of the tickets are on over. There's just that perception that Brazil will win and will win comfortably. But the boss has reckoned Brazil to win 2-0 or 1 or 2-0. That might be the safest play. Unders might be the way to go in that one. Still waiting on Shakespeare. Hopefully he's still there. We need a best bet before we wrap things up, Rory, for the show. You've given us sort of 3 official plays. We've 1 or 2 leans over the course of the last sort of 30, 35 minutes or so. But what would be your best play when it comes to the Nations League / World Cup qualifying action tonight?
Yeah, my safest and soundest is going to be Ecuador not to score under 0.5 goals at minus 113 right at this moment. But I just, I mean, they call it kind of decaffeinated games in Spain in terms of this international break, because everyone is just kind of tired and hoping to get home without any injuries at the moment. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of unders, a lot of both teams to score no. And that's going to be the case in this game for me.
Yeah, I reckon that's good advice. And with these 2 teams as well, I don't think I'm over-egging it. They're almost certain to qualify. They will be in the top 6 come the final reckoning when it comes to South American World Cup qualifying. Many thanks to the comments Shakespeare's not been on with a late play for this one, but basically the message is don't give up on the Cleveland Indians just yet. Hang on. Shakespeare's best plays. One Hamlet, King Lear, The Tempest, The Merchant of Venice. Whoever's done that of the Betting Weekly team, I will guarantee you that they didn't know any of those plays. They've had to Google, they've had to wiki, because none of our team are that well educated. Only joking. Many thanks to everyone who's tuned in. Rory, thanks for your company. Always a pleasure. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Live. More to come, of course, tomorrow from 11 a.m. Eastern. Good luck tonight with all the action when it comes to the Nations League and the World Cup qualifiers from myself and Rory. That is your lot.